All right. Hi, everyone. We have a really unique artist this week. Jason deCaires Taylor was born in 1974 to an English father and a Guyanese mother. He is a sculptor, an environmentalist, and professional underwater photographer. After graduating from the London Institute of the Arts in 1998 with a BA honors in sculpture, Taylor became the first of a new generation of artists to shift the concepts of the land art movement into the realm of the marine environment. Next slide. By encompassing biorestorative and culturally educational properties, Taylor's work has been categorized as part of the eco-art movement. And here we can see his three artistic pillars that serve as the framework and purpose for his works that we'll look at: culture, conservation, and tourism. Next slide. So before we go underwater, we can see a little bit of the process on creating these intricate sculptures. He works alongside marine biologists, and Taylor uses resilient, stable, and environmentally responsive materials. He integrates a coral-promoting neutral pH cement, and he propagates damaged coral fragments found in the ocean into preset keys in his figures and sculptures. The structures also incorporate habitat spaces for marine life that will promote an increase in biomass of local ecosystems. Next slide. So here is a close-up of one of the many sculptures in Vicissitudes, his first big underwater installation in Molinaire Bay, Grenada in 2006. Taylor's work creates haunting, enigmatic underwater scenes, often depicting the mundaneness of life on dry land, transported into this alchemic new environment, and we can really see how nature and marine life have taken over his work. Next slide. In 2016, he created sculptures for the second underwater museum off the coast of Spain called Museo Atlántico. The underwater museum contains 300 of deCaires Taylor's sculptures, one of which being deregulated, seen here, of two grown men playing on a seesaw. Next slide. So here's another one of those sculptures at the Museo Atlántico in Spain. The raft of Lampedusa does have a more political undertone, as it represents the many rafts and boats of refugees that are lost beneath the waves of the Mediterranean. It draws its inspiration from Theodore Géricault's Raft of the Medusa, which represents the vain hope of shipwrecked sailors. Despite being able to see the rescue vessel on the horizon, they are abandoned to their fate. Next slide, please. So here are some photos showing the installation process of some of these pieces and the amount of time and help from other people that's needed to make sure that these sculptures get placed correctly and safely. Next slide. Here, as we can see, is a huge installation of figures that he did in the Cancun National Marine Park in 2011. The artwork consists of more than 400 individual sculptures that immortalized about 90 real-life models from the nearby fishing village of Puerto Morelos to create a community of people standing in defense of their oceans. The location for this particular installation was chosen to redirect visitors away from nearby natural reefs, providing those reefs with the opportunity to regenerate. Next slide. deCaires Taylor went back to Grenada in 2023 and added this new sculptural series to the park, which drew inspiration from Grenada's vibrant annual carnival called Spice Mess. The sculptural procession portrays a range of symbolic carnival characters, each celebrating the country's rich culture and history. Next slide. And here are some close-ups of those carnival sculptures. This is also the first time that color has been used on Taylor's underwater sculptures, and he uses a calcium carbonate base with natural pigments. Next slide. Ocean Centennials is a series of 8 sculptures in hybrid form. They're a synthesis of human figures and natural marine forms. So the human figures are predominantly Australians who work in marine science and reef conservation. The stylized marine forms that surround and envelop them represent their particular field of study and expertise. And the artworks aim to create an educational and informative introduction to the Great Barrier Reef and highlight its strong link to Indigenous cultures and traditions. Next slide. And here we can see an evolution of how deCaires Taylor takes a human form and creates an underwater sculpture. He casts a mold using reef-safe cement, but of course, over time, nature takes its course, making the sculpture at one with the reef. Next slide. Jason deCaires Taylor has won numerous awards for his groundbreaking approach to art and marine conservation. He's broken many Guinness World Records, and his underwater sculpture exhibitions have been labeled as wonders of the world. He's truly an innovator, and I hope you enjoyed seeing some of his work today. Thank you.